Hi folks, today I'm going to do an overhaul on my Ariel rider Grizzly. And I used to be a bike mechanic and I always enjoyed teaching people how to fix their bikes, so I thought I'd make a little video of the process. And the nice thing about an overhaul is you don't have to do a lot of diagnosis. You kind of just take everything apart, clean and inspect all the individual components, replace the things that need replacing, put it back together, get it adjusted, and you end up with a nice clean bike that just like feels new and working well. And when you do an overhaul, the repairs just tend to stick a lot longer. Like I could, replace the cable and housing and get my shifting working again. But like if I take the time to take it apart and clean it and just get everything dialed in, then you're not just waiting for the next weak link, So the first step in an overhaul is to just quickly kind of take an inventory of the issues. Obviously you saw the rear derailleur cable. For a while I was missing this headset spacer and I've got a chunk of PVC in there. You're not allowed to do that, but I am because I'm a professional. So yeah, I'm gonna get that sorted. The kickstand has worked loose several times and it's just like, I don't know, it's got so much weight on it that I don't know, I might run bolts through to try to secure it. And I've got one of the batteries in there. So one thing I've noticed, this selector should change which wheels are spinning, and it doesn't seem to be doing that. The other thing you'll notice, I get it running, the front wheel keeps going a while, the rear stops pretty quick. And that could be an issue in the hub, but often it's just the brakes are rubbing a little bit. So if we kind of look in here, we can see, yeah, you can't really see any light through there. So yeah, looks like the rear brake pad's rubbing. And I do have a slow leak in this. One of the pegs is missing, but I've got it over here. And then for this, I've just got simple green. I like to wear gloves, some cleaning supplies. I really like the Alien 2 bike tool, if you're in the market for one, and just like some general bike stuff. I've got the kickstand here, replacement cable and housing, along with the little miscellaneous hardware. Those are important. And I think these are replacement like torque washers for up front. I think those are the old ones and these are the new reinforced ones. So I'm gonna get those on there as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If I give the pedals a spin, they seem okay. Not much wiggle there. If I push in and out on the crank here, the bottom bracket feels fine and smooth. Which makes sense. Like the actual drivetrain of this doesn't really get much work because I basically use it as an electric motorcycle. So yeah, I think I'm ready to start taking it apart. And I'm not necessarily going to film every step, but yeah, I'll just do the next clip when it seems sensible. So these wheels are kind of big and heavy, so it's hard enough as it is. To make things easier for you, you want to get the chain shifted down into the smallest sprocket here. Normally you do this with your shifter, but since I didn't have a cable, I adjusted these screws to get myself a few gears up. So anyway, so now I'm just gonna loosen these and take it off. Since it's disc brakes, it shouldn't really be too hard. But now I've got a lot more slack in this chain, so it's not gonna fight me. So I grabbed the axle with this Nip-X tool, and I'm just kind of spinning it. And like, it's not the easiest thing to turn, but it feels smooth. And I'm comfortable with the noises that it's making, so I'm not going to open that up any more than I can or need to. And I'm just going to clean the cassette in place. Might be a freewheel, actually. So I'm not really worried about being able to control front and rear wheel, but I'm going to see if there's any issues with this switch. It's got 3 pins in there. I've got my voltmeter set to continuity, so it'll beep if there's a connection. So I'm just going to start with the selector in the middle, see what we got going on. Nothing from the left and right pins. Nothing middle to right. Seems like nothing middle to left. So then we go over to switches to the left. Nothing there. Nothing there. Yeah, so we got some continuity between the left and right there. And then switch it over to the right. Let's see if it's changed. Yeah, so now there's continuity between these two. So without knowing how the switch is supposed to work, I can just tell that it's changing between the different settings. So good chance there isn't a problem with the switch. So maybe this just wasn't fully seated. Maybe there's a problem down the line. I'm gonna clean it up with some alcohol swabs, but I'm not gonna go too deep into that. I'll just keep an eye out for wiring issues and things that aren't fully connected. All right, so I got the handlebars off, and that's not entirely necessary, but I wanted to. And I've just been cleaning stuff up. I'm just doing the first pass with Simple Green and a rag, which does good, like getting hunks of dirt off and bird shit and that sort of thing. But like, as your rag gets dirty, it kind of just leaves a haze. So I'm gonna go over one more time. I might try glass cleaner. Otherwise, just a clean rag will do it. In bike shops, we'd often, for the final pass, we'd actually use Pledge, which just makes it nice and glossy. I took the chain off. I was sure it would have a master link, but I didn't see it, so I used my chain breaker tool. And I'm gonna hit that with some throttle body air intake cleaner, and I bet that's gonna clean up that chain nicely. But otherwise, a lot of it just comes down to just kind of scrubbing it with a rag. And yeah, and then I gotta replace the tube in the rear wheel, and then also, you know, again, just Simple Green and wiping it off. And like, yeah, you don't really want to get soapy stuff on your rotors if you can avoid it. But you know, I just love getting it clean. I think that's going to be half of it. All right, I've mostly still just been cleaning. The throttle body cleaner did loosen up that grease. I still had to scrub it with a rag. I think people assume in bike shops that they have, you know, fancy equipment for everything, but a lot of times you just end up, you know, scrubbing things and, you know, doing the same tedious little thing. Like if you want to get the grease from between those links, you just got to get in there with a rag. So, although, I mean, there's little chain cleaners. I've never really liked those, unless you have a full-size parts cleaner. You're gonna end up doing it by hand anyways, I think. But I got my kickstand back on. The threads on this were just like really blasted out, so I just ran fresh bolts through, lock washers on both sides, a couple nuts, and that's not like the same thread pitch. I don't know, it's, you know, it's just bolts from a kit, but I think it'll hold it better because this, I think, is aluminum, so it's just like doesn't have the strength for the job it's asked to do. And yeah, I can't remember what else I was going to update you on, but things are moving along. I could get that cleaner, but it's getting late in the day. So, nothing like a clean hub. These are gonna scratch up my rims, but they make quick work of it. I've got this layer in here. It's just the inner tube at one point that got a hole in it, and I just sliced it open to use as a tire liner. I tend to ride my tires until they're really due for replacement, so any protection I can get is helpful. Again, these metal ones are risky to use, but I'm kind of getting tired of wrestling with this, so. If you're wondering how to adjust the disc brakes on an Ariel Ride or Grizzly, then just don't. You should just worry about how to adjust disc brakes on a bicycle and go watch like the Park Tool video or any other general like instructional video that's going to do a better job than me. I've just got a feel for it and got it on the first try. But like most of the components on a Grizzly, maybe I didn't quite get it. Now I'm happy with that. Most of the components on a Grizzly are just bicycle components. The frame is obviously very custom, and the hubs, but like the derailleur, the brakes, you know, like pedals, cranks, chain, like all these are just bicycle components. So you don't need to like go to the Ariel rider subreddit and ask them about, you know, very super specific stuff. You can just look up, this is just a Tektro brake. You can look up the model number. You can look up, you know, general information on bicycle disc brakes. And that would be much more fruitful than trying to like get it from a video like this as if it's something special, because it's not. I'm not gonna like show you how to adjust the derailleur, but for this shifter, you just shift it into one, and you can feed the cable through. I'm gonna get this in place before you put the cable through, and then you also want to cut your housing to the final length before you pass your cable through it, otherwise you end up cutting your cable at the same time. Also put a little grease on your cable. All right, I think it's ready for a ride. This bike is awesome. All right, that's all, folks.